We need to be very clear about what's happened in the last few days. A man was charged, not convicted, of serious offences involving a child. The presumption of innocence, so central to British justice, is barely an afterthought in the febrile atmosphere that now grips Epping. Instead, the Bell Hotel has become both a lightning rod and a powder keg, and it's not just that man who is assumed to be guilty, it's the entire hotel. Over 2 weeks, a once quiet Essex town has been transformed into a stage for public anger, online misinformation, and organised far-right mobilisation with the what-ifs of Reform UK and other politicians exploiting their power to stir up resentment and controversy and anger and antagonism and fear. What began as local concern has morphed into something much darker, a metastasis, a movement hijacked by agitators who care more about spectacle than solutions. Residents have every right to express alarm over safety, especially when a child is allegedly harmed. But public concern has been manipulated. Social media platforms are awash with false claims that crime has surged, that counter-protesters were bussed in, that police took sides. None of this is true, as Essex police have confirmed. Epping's crime rate has actually dropped, but that's no defence against the viral power of rumour. Around 140 men live in the Bell Hotel. Most have fled war, persecution or political repression. They're awaiting asylum decisions, often after months of limbo. Many now report being too afraid to leave the building. Some have been chased, others attacked. One man from Yemen described being beaten by 6 men while out for milk. Another from East Africa said he was hunted down the street simply for walking because he's black. This isn't immigration policy. This is psychological warfare mixed with racism, mixed with racial profiling, mixed with, well, what is it? The far right or reform. Epping Forest District Council unanimously voted to close the hotel. That may feel like leadership, but it's also a retreat. The Conservative councillor Holly Whitbread rightly warned of fellow members standing next to neo-Nazis in these protests. Reform UK's Jamie McIver earned a standing ovation in the chamber despite parroting disproven far-right talking points. Nigel Farage, ever the arsonist with a petrol can of indignation, has claimed the police were bussing in masked thugs. It's a lie, and a dangerous one. The Home Office, which requisitioned the Bell Hotel in the first place, now pretends to restore order by introducing a draconian failure to travel policy. This punishes asylum seekers who refuse alternative accommodation, even if those places are unsafe and far away from the doctors who might have promised medicine or psychological support. This is theatrical cruelty. Instead of professing and processing claims efficiently, the government, the Home Office, enacts displacement and calls it reform or protection. Dame Angela Eagle's statement on protecting the taxpayer is cold comfort to the men being hunted in the streets and the officers policing pitched battles. Far-right Facebook groups like Epping Says No now dominate the narrative. Their content is toxic, racist, relentlessly inflammatory. Coverage from mainstream outlets has often blurred lines between lawful protest and mob incitement. Photos of England flags and Protect Our Kids signs obscure the fact that some involved have ties to Homeland and ties to Tommy Robinson, and a minority group is controlling the tone, and the public square is being turned into a theatre of suspicion and hate. Essex police have shown professionalism, issuing dispersal orders and arresting 17 people so far. 8 officers have been injured. They're now accused of being both too forceful and too lenient, a familiar paradox. They're also being politically undermined. Farage's attacks on the Chief Constable are not unhelpful. They're not just unhelpful, they're undemocratic. They threaten operational independence. They risk politicising policing. The Bell Hotel is no longer viable as accommodation. Even the asylum seekers want it closed. But that solves nothing. The government must drastically speed up asylum processing. It must spend the money that it's put aside for paying to keep these squalid hotels in cash, by paying that money to fund and train civil servants to bulk up the Home Office so that somebody can actually do some work in the Home Office and process these claims. Maybe all those people who've been fired from NHS England can be sent over to the Home Office to do some work there. Because under the NHS terms, nobody can actually be fired or replaced. If you lose one job in NHS England, you have to be given another. Well, they could be given other jobs in the Home Office. Fund decentralised accommodation and real community support. That's the way to go. Prosecute those who incite violence, regardless of political alignment. Prosecute those who ask leading questions. And when they know what the answer is going to be, when they know that they are stirring up their base. And above all, we must cease demonising people seeking sanctuary. The tragedy is that Epping has become a case study in how legitimate concern becomes contaminated by hate and how policy failure becomes fertile ground for populism. If we don't stop this now, we'll have more flashpoints, more violence, more fear, maybe even a summer of rioting. What's unfolding is not just about the Bell Hotel, it's about who gets to define British values and whether decency, justice and reason can still prevail over rage.